Hi, Nick Park here from Evangelical Alliance Ireland. This is our weekly message. It's Friday, but Sunday's coming. And I'm delighted that this week I am joined by Alin Lunca.
Pleasure to be here. I'm so excited to be here, and I feel actually blessed because I grew up with you since I was a child, and I look up to you in a sense. So I appreciate you for inviting me, and I'm happy to be here.
Well, thank you. Not every guest I have on is as appreciative as
thank you.
that.
Thank you very much.
So, Alin, the reason I wanted to talk with you is because you are a Christian. You're a committed Christian. You're an actor.
Yes.
Yes. You've applied to join the Guards.
I
understand. So, looking forward to hopefully seeing you in uniform. And you're also a member of the Roma community.
Of course.
In fact, you describe yourself, I think, as being Roma proud.
Yeah, I'm extremely Roma proud. I have a background in Christianity, and I mean, my father was a pastor for a long time now. And I have extreme moral values, family values. But at the same time, I grew up in a Roma community and a Roma family. So I'm extremely proud of that, of course, yeah.
So when you say your father was a pastor, yes?
Yeah.
So that obviously that was instrumental in you coming to Christ yourself. How did you come to a personal faith in Jesus?
To be honest with you, the first instance I remember, now my father's been, he was the first kind of pioneer in Christianity and Pentecostal. In my town, there was no Pentecostals. And my father was introduced several years before I was born, but decided to take the leap of faith, the proverbial sense, a year after I was born. Now, he was the first kind of pioneer in the community in my town, and there was a group of maybe 9 to 10 people. Now, most of the community in my town is Pentecostal and thriving. So my first experience with faith in God, I guess, had to be somewhere around when I was 4 years old, when I woke up from sleep and suddenly I felt an earthquake, and I went into the next room, and it was my father and his small community, around 10 people praying, and I realized it wasn't in a sense a physical earthquake, but a spiritual earthquake. My mother came to me and she assured me that they're just praying, and this is what they'll be doing from now on. In a sense, I think about the Proverbs 22 verse 6, where it says, teach your kids about God, and they'll be with them for the rest of their lives. So that was the first time I was introduced to faith in God, and from then, I guess there is instances where I fell off and came back again, but that's the important. When you fall, make sure you get back up again.
And how old were you when you came to Ireland?
When I came to Ireland, I was about 5 years old.
Right.
5 years old.
So you spent most of your life here.
I consider myself more Irish than I could ever be Romanian, because I grew up here. My best friends were Irish. I went to school here. I went to college here. I went to acting college here. And I consider myself more Irish than I could be Romanian, but I'm still extremely proud to be Romanian. Call myself Romanian. And at the same time, a Roma, I guess. Yeah.
So you went to acting college. So is there anything we might have seen you in? Yeah,
well, I've been a part of a lot of commercials in the north as well. I was part of the EU settlement scheme. I did Vikings, Valhalla. I was part of that production.
You look a bit like a Viking.
Yeah, I had longer hair and a beard going on. But I've did so many stuff I could, and I can't even remember, but I don't like to see my stuff. But I also do voice acting, I do a lot of productions, a lot of commercials that I do. And then the church recently started introducing me to take part. So for several years now, I've been taking part as a voice actor in the Christmas productions.
Right.
I introduced the monologue.
This is in Britannia Church.
Britannia Church, yeah.
Yes.
I do the introduction to the concerts, and I've been doing it for several years. You might have heard if you take part in the concerts. So
yes, yeah.
And it's, honest to God, I prefer doing the stuff for spirituality than in the other because I get more sense from it. In a sense, acting, you get the financial benefits, but in the religious spirituality way, I get more, oomph.
Yeah.
I get more oomph from it. So I'm extremely proud to work for God and use my talents for God.
Now, of course, part of your faith has been taking you through the tough times as well.
Of course, yeah.
I do remember we were both at a Christian conference in Greece.
In 2022, yeah.
Yes. And I remember you sharing there about your wife had been really, really sick during COVID.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Basically, we got the news she was pregnant. She was about 7 months pregnant, and we got the news that she's 99% gone, you know. And if it gotten even worse, that she'd have to be put on a special machine, but the chances of surviving were second to none. And I remember in those times, just nobody could come visit me because I was still at home with my two other children.
Yeah.
And I prayed. I went on my knees and I prayed. I said, God, it can't end this way, because if my wife passes away, then I cannot be made an example of, you know. It's just the thoughts. In a time of panic, you go into thoughts like that, you know. And God had done miracles. Now, my whole life has been going through miracles, from my father's passing away for 20 minutes, and then us praying and God bringing him back. Wow. And through several instances of just constant miracles has happened in our lives. I guess this God works in mysterious ways and miraculous ways. And
I do remember at that conference you were sharing about a particular, almost experimental medical procedure your wife had, and they were around the table. There was a nurse there from a Filipino church in Dublin. And somebody went, hang on, what's your wife's name? And we discovered that she was part of the medical team that had helped save your wife's life.
Exactly. Which, in a way, I don't know if it's coincidental or if it's divine intervention, which I think it was a divine intervention. But the team who had gone with us was the same people that worked on my wife when she was sick, which I didn't know at the time, but they're also Pentecostals, and they're part of the group. And I still talk to Pastor Juris and her team. I still talk to this day, you know. So I'm so happy there.
I remember that conversation. I just thought it was such a beautiful thing. I thought only in the church.
Only in the church
it was happening.
Exactly.
And I think one of the reasons why I wanted to talk with you as well is because obviously there's been some incidents which has been very negative publicity for the Roma community, and I'm frustrated because most people are unaware that God is doing some incredible things among the Roma community, isn't it?
Of course, take the spirituality away from it. All Roma people are good, not just spiritual Roma. So the whole community is good as a whole, right? If we look at the census part of it, as I explained to you earlier on, about 0.6% of the Irish population is the Roma community, right? It's a small number considering other ethnicities and other communities. So we have a small community. Recently, during negative events, something happened, and we are put in a weird spotlight, in a negative spotlight. It's not just the Roma community that's like this. It's other communities as well. You know, I've recently read about 2 judges who are being, going through some serious accusations. That these are judges who represent the law. Now, why are we so different? You know what I mean? It's every single community has negative aspects to it. I'm sad to see the amount of negative publicity and I guess propaganda going towards the community, and we're all put in the same boat. When currently, as I said, I studied psychology, I'm studying acting, but not just me. I don't want to bring my attributes to this. I want to bring all the attributes of the Roman community. We have people studying neuroscience at the moment. We have people studying psychology. We have people studying programming. We have theologians studying Christianity and faith. And we have an abundance of people who are trying to integrate themselves in the Irish community, who are actually bringing nothing but positive things into the community. And then we're all put in the same boat to be referenced as parasites of the world. And you've read the comments. I'm kind of shocked. And I have children. I'm going on my 5th child now. I respect family values, and I don't want my kids going into this society thinking that the Roma community is frowned upon. I don't want them to hide their ethnicity. I want them to be proud, because we have some communities think that the Roma are the problem, but sometimes we're the solution. And this is what I want to emphasize, and this is why I accepted the invitation today. I want to emphasize that it's not just the Christian, high-valued Roma community who are good. It's the whole lot. We're all good. Every single community has bad people and good people. I mean, evilness is primordial from the start of time, since Abel and Cain. So we have to accept that some bad people exist, some good people exist, but most of us are good in a sense.
And I was so impressed, particularly watching this next generation of Roma young people coming through. Exactly. So many of them going to college, qualifying, setting up business initiatives and stuff like that. I just got my hair cut last week, and Dennis and Dalir is my barber.
I know Dennis, God bless him. It is what it is. I mean, we're trying to integrate into this community. It's the Roma community as a whole. I guess at a certain time we let culture divide us from the general populace. But now our culture is becoming more and more modernized. In a sense, the culture kind of has overtaken everything else, the moral ability and everything else that goes into the community. But imagine, for instance, our culture was for women to have skirts. Nobody's going to hire a woman in a skirt. Same as the Muslim community. Some of them are quite abstract and more or less. But now it's becoming to a point where we could leave that culture and integrate and modernize into the certain culture that we're living in now. So I'd like to see this kind of stuff happen, and it is happening. Our next generations want to become pilots, doctors, nurses, and everything else, and all the good things that God has given us.
Yeah.
And
we said before, we said about leaving the spiritual side, but let's bring the spiritual side in now, because one thing I'm observing, and I don't think most Christians, I think, don't realize this, that in terms of the percentage of the Roma population that are finding Jesus and are in evangelical churches, I would say that's a higher percentage than almost any other ethnic or people group in Ireland. There really is a revival taking place.
Yeah. There's I guess my father came here about 24 years ago. The Roma community, spiritual Roma community, wasn't that that high. Now there is. My father also had something to do with it. You know what I mean? He most of the community here didn't find their faith. They were Catholic or Orthodox, and my father figured, well, if there's such a big community of Roma people here, why not gather them and introduce them to Christ? And from then it led to the church. I guess my town community, the first church being built, and now most of the population is, as you know, is faithful and Christian and Pentecostal. Yeah. I'm extremely proud of that, actually.
It is wonderful to see. And do you think part of that is the really strong family ties that you have in the Roma community? Because it's almost like when one person comes to Jesus, it's like there's brothers and sisters and cousins and everything else coming to Christ as well.
Proverbially, I guess it does have a domino effect. We tend to follow the masses. I guess even speaking on the other side, we follow the masses. Oh, look at that kid. He has gone into college to study psychology. My kid better do something like that. And I guess we do follow the masses in that sense. But spirituality, I guess it's the same thing. Obviously, because my father has introduced people to God and Jesus and faith and Pentecostalism, other people tended to follow. And I guess, that's true. And I guess, in a sense, my kids were introduced because of me, and I was introduced because of my father, which is high-valued fundamentals as a Pentecostal, to introduce others, because at the end of the day, that's what we have to do. We have to introduce people to Jesus.
Yeah. Is there anything else you would like to say? If there's maybe people watching this who, the only thing they know about Roma people is what they see on the TV, and what is there anything you would like to say to them? Being as a Roma doesn't just mean an ethnicity. We bring high-valued fundamentals to any community that we go in. Our background is music, entertainment, and if you read the history of the Roma people, we're throughout all this world. It's not just the Roma people. For example, I want to emphasize this. There's 33 different denominations of Roma, right? That means that there's not just one type of Roma and that's it. Yeah. There's 33 different denominations, which changes from culture to the way we speak, to the dialect, to the mentality, to character. So that if there's 33 different type of communities, then you can't just put us all in one boat. That's not saying, I'm not trying to bring any negative towards it. It's just differentiate these kind of things, And for example, even there's Roma from Slovakia, Roma from Poland, Roma from Romania. It's all different, but suddenly anything negative happens, we're all put in the same boat. Yeah. And I want to emphasize that this is not true. I've recently spoken to 98 FM regarding this incident. Just because there's a small minority of people causing trouble doesn't mean that we're all causing trouble. Yeah, actually, I do understand how that feels. I do remember years ago being in England and going into a shop, and there was just a report on the news about a particularly bad murder that had been committed by Irish people. Wow. And I'm standing there to the shopkeeper, and I don't want to open my mouth because I don't want him to hear my voice and know I'm Irish.
Right, you feel kind of kicked out of your own community, of your own sense. And I said to you earlier, I want my kids to be proud that they're Roma. I don't want them to hide the fact that they're Roma, because we do bring into the community these high value prospects of our lives, high value aspects of our life, which is our culture, which is our music, which is our fundamentals, which is amazing things that we can integrate to the community itself. As I said earlier, people think we're the problem, but sometimes we're the solution. Imagine a world without culture. We just tend to, especially with AI rising now, we're going to go into a world where if culture was eradicated, then we'd just be left like robots. And what are we going to do? What's happening? That will also have a domino effect. So it's very important to keep the culture, and it's very important to keep the faith.
Absolutely.
Because without faith and without culture, I guess we're just waiting to die. I guess we're just living through this world without doing nothing. But I'm so happy you invited me today, and we got to speak about this.
No, I'm delighted you were able to come in and talk with me, Alan. I work obviously in my job with the church and the Evangelical Alliance. I'm in different churches, sometimes 2-3 churches on a Sunday, and a lot of time I'm in churches with large numbers of Roma people, and the faith that I'm seeing and the things that God is doing are just, I just want more people to know about them, and I'm delighted you are a good ambassador for your community.
Hopefully,
so thank you for coming in.
I want to just emphasize a call for unity rather than this destroyment, I guess. It's our time to be unified, because the devil hates unification, and hopefully we can unify together as a mindset and as a community and as people, because at the end of the day, we're all humans. God created us in his image.
Amen.
Right? So even, it doesn't matter if you're black, if you're Roma, if whatever ethnicity you come from, whatever culture you come from, we're all created in the image of God. And to degrade one another would be degrading God itself, because we are, at the end of the day, created in his image.
What a brilliant note to finish on.
That's perfect. God bless you.
Great.
Bless you.
So look, thank you to Alin for coming in today, and I do hope you will join us again next Friday for another edition of It Might Be Friday, but Sunday's coming. Until then, God bless you in Jesus' name.
God bless you.